Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and our guest co-host, the Football Grump of the Just Giants podcast. And it's our favorite week of the year. We are live from Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. We're going to do a little bit of Senior Bowl preview, catch up on some things. We got Brett Favre highlights playing in the background. We've got LaDainian Tomlinson highlights on deck. Happy to be in Alabama. How are you guys?
Grump, how are you, man?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm one Corona deep, and
Love it.
yeah,
For the fans who never lose.
yeah, and Alabama. This is like our home away from home. This
It
is
is.
our winter getaway. So like up
Yeah.
north, it was like 0 degrees last week. It's about 60 here today, and we're having a good time. We got up at 5, but we're still having a good time.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this week. I feel like we have, now that we've been coming down here for the last couple of years, and we got a good mix of what we do on Giants. We got a good mix of what we do on JM Football, at least content-wise. I think we have a really good plan of how we can do more than what we've done in previous years. You just put out your first draft film breakdown, which I'm going to put the link to that video in the description of this
New
video.
channel, so subscribe to it. We need to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can, get it really rolling, and that's when it starts popping off.
There you go.
But
I'm really excited. Yeah.
Exciting week. So we'll be live on this channel after practices. We'll have recap videos on the JM Football channel. We have film breakdowns on the new channel. I got 2 on deck for next week. Gonna do Jalen Milroe at some point. So really excited for it. We're gonna do breakdowns O-line, D-line 101. So gonna be a really good week. Excited for it all.
And let me ask you guys this. So Grump, I think you and I have been coming out for the last 3 years, 4 years maybe.
I can't remember if it's 3 or 4.
You've been coming down since
This is my 5th year,
2020.
2021.
5th year. So I feel like it's our
Fourth.
third or fourth.
I think it's our 4th because I think we came right after.
This
Anyway.
is your guys' 4th, my 5th year.
I think the talent that's down here. Now, I think last year's receiver class was maybe better in Mobile, but the talent that's here kind of sprinkled all over, but especially O-line, D-line, and edge, I feel like is awesome this year, and I am really, really excited, particularly to watch that through the first 3 days.
The D-line is unbelievable down
Yes.
here. Like, it's maybe the best position group I've seen down here, where it's like you legit – they had 10 first guys just 10 players go in the first round last year from the Senior Bowl, 2 of those being quarterbacks with Michael Penix and Bo Nix. This week is about the trenches. There's going to be some wide receivers that we talk about. This week is about the trenches. Those are where I've done my notes because they just have guys on guys on guys. The offensive line, like this is, I feel like, is a good offensive line group. They're going to be going.
I
through
still
it,
think
man.
they're going to get housed.
Yeah, they're gonna be challenged, man. So I'm really excited for all of this. We get a little look at Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe in person. Guys that will be QB3. We're trying to get into a place where we can interview those guys for the next Friday show. So yeah, I'm really excited for it all. Justin, the people that make it possible are some special people. We got Pete P or PP. Joe DeMauro, not Joe DiMaggio, Joe DeMauro. Rand Man, he's a man. His name is Rand. And then we got Tommy McNamara, Cade McNamara's son. Justin, who are these special people?
These wonderful people went to patreon.com/talkinggiants for $2 a month, plus some of the tiers. They could hang out with us live while we record the shows. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail when he's back in Florida. Plus, there's some shirt raffles a couple times a month. Patreon.com/Talking Giants. You will be glad you did. Thank you to our patrons. Patrons really appreciate you. And one of the things that I want to add on to, talking about a talented and loaded D-line class here at the Senior Bowl, I feel like the last couple of years we've walked away from these weeks, Grump. You and I watch. Bobby watches every 1v1 rep, but you and I together, what we do every single day, we get back to this Airbnb after recording everything.
Justin Tuck chased down
There's a Justin Tuck highlight right there.
From 2005, the Justin Tuck chasing LaDainian Tomlinson down the field. What do you think his next-gen top speed was on that play? 20 miles an hour? And neither here nor there. Grump, you and I, we clip up every single play, and we do the text of, all right, who is this player? Who is this player? We put the text on the screen. And I feel like I've walked away at least the last 2 years saying the O-line just dominated the D-line. Like, I didn't really feel like, besides a few exceptions, I haven't felt like there was, especially among the edge rushers. Even Byron Young, who's had NFL success from Tennessee, he kind of came here and had didn't really have an awesome week. So I'm really excited to see if, for the first time in a couple years, can the D-line win the battle against the O-line in 1v1s.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For the most part, it's been the O-line dominating. There's been a few exceptions with like Jared Verse and Tavondre Sweat were guys that kind of did really well down here on the defensive line. But for the most part, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're even Jermaine Johnson.
Yes.
But usually it's like you have your power guys, the Keon Whites, Darius Robinson, and then you have your speed guys like you mentioned with Byron Young. This is a year where you actually have the blend of both.
Yes.
Some guys may be a little better at one thing than the other, but like you have guys that are a blend of both. You got interior rushers that can be impact players. Like this is a good year to get D linemen. I've been saying to you guys since we got down here is that if the Giants don't go quarterback in the first round with their third pick, like I so badly would love to get out of the first 2 rounds with the edge and the D lineman.
Sure.
Just meet the strength of this class. So let's get into it. Let's talk. I thought we'd talk about quarterbacks first, but since we're on edge D line, let's talk about what we're looking for. My guy, and I'll let you guys talk about like a guy you're specifically watching. A guy that I'm really watching closely down here is a guy that I'm lower on the consensus than everybody, but I understand why the consensus may like him a lot. And that's Texas A&M edge Shedeur Stewart, who measured in at 6'5", 281 pounds. He is strong as shit. Like, he is really, really strong. He's athletic. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's athletic enough to be a full-time edge in the NFL. My issue is right now, from his film, he does not look like someone who's going to be a plus pass rusher in the NFL, right? My first film breakdown was Armand Membu versus him and their matchup. And Membu, who's projected to possibly be a guard, even though I think he can play tackle from the little bit I watched of him, handled him pretty well. Now, he had some really nice wins in the run game using his strength. So he's strong, he's long, and he has that size. I want to see him dominate one-on-ones this whole week and in the 11-on-11 portion of obviously too, but we're paying attention to quarterback and receiver play a little more there. Like, I want to see him dominate, not just have some wins, not Darius Robinson last year where he flashed his strength but really didn't finish, because it's not just the stats, it's the film that backs up like him as a player, where he's gotten decent pressure, but last year in just Power 5 schools and guys who are eligible in this class, so 78 players, and you got to filter out a lot that are bad in there, but still 78 in there, 21st in total sacks, hits, and pressures, 26th in pass rush production, or pass rush, pressure percentage, 33rd in pass rush win rate, and you don't look at just numbers, but the film matches. And the raw numbers, too. 4.5 sacks and 12 tackles for loss. You would say that's kind of a mess season for a first-round edge, right?
Yeah.
That's his last 3 years, and he's been a player for them the last 3 years, too. So I like Nick Scourton, his running mate at Texas A&M better. He's somebody that we looked at in the way too early draft preview in the summer, Grump. And at the time, we're like, hey, I think he's better than James Pierce, who's projected to go 1-1, and Scourton was like looked as a late first rounder. Right now, I like Scourton better just off of last year's film while he was at Purdue. But Shedeur Stewart, if he's who people want him to be, this should be a week he dominates. Not has a good week, he dominates. Because if he just has a good week to me, he's like a late first rounder type player for me.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there, Grump, before you get your thoughts out there. But I think Shedeur Stewart, while this is a week for him to shine as a pass rusher, I do think as a run defender, he's there and he's that dude. But we're talking about a guy that could be projected to be like taken in the first round and like this guy fits the Green Bay Packers role, which is crazy. I don't want to say it's crazy, but I think that's interesting for a guy that doesn't have a lot of pass rush production. It's kind of like the Trayvon Walker effect of we're going to take traits and we're going to look at this guy's get off, look at this guy's punch, look at the aggression. But he is a legit run defender, and I almost want to compare him to like not hype wise, but career wise. This kind of feels like a Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, definitely not hype-wise, but yeah, I could see that being
really good run defender.
Yeah, where he because like you said, he is a really good run defender. And you mentioned Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker had better pass rush production than him, and that was his issue. Like, he had better pass rush snaps of one-on-one. I know the Evan Neal versus Trayvon Walker one-on-one matchup was looked at as a highlight for Neal, but Trayvon Walker had more wins there than what Armand Membu had in his matchup. So I want it, right? I want to see it for him. But right now, I don't view him as like a top 20 player in a draft.
Right.
And I won't, this won't change my whole thoughts on him, but he can change how I view his potential if he comes down here and just dominates as a pass rusher.
For sure.
Do you want me to talk about edge guys or defensive line?
Edge D-line. I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of these guys. Like, who's the guy you're really watching?
Oh, gosh, it's so hard because there are so many, right? And if you're combining the two of them, it gets even harder. But, just one quick point on Armand Membo from Missouri as the offensive tackle who might be getting kicked inside, et cetera. He was described as one of the better offensive linemen in this draft class, not just the Senior Bowl. I don't know that I agree with that, but he's certainly no slouch. So in regards to that matchup right there with Scourton, I understand. For me, if I'm thinking edge, I'm really intrigued because for me, the Senior Bowl is all about opportunity, right? And a lot of times guys get unfairly critiqued based on their level of competition or a million other things. But right now, like the Senior Bowl is like the ultimate equalizer. So this is everybody's getting the same coaching, the same kind of reps, etc. And so for me, I always look for the small school guy or the level of competition guy that's ready to step up. So I'm really intrigued by Marshall's Mike Green because his highlight reel is just fun to watch. I don't remember his height weigh-in, but I know
he got 251, which people thought he'd be like 236.
Yeah, no. I saw it. I 251. I thought it was 248, but regardless, the same.
Mike Green.
3 pounds. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I really want to see how he holds up on a rep by rep basis, because he is, I would say, probably pretty raw if you look at some of his film, but he is just so much fun to watch. His spin move is killer off of the edge. He has so much speed, and I really want to see what he looks like entering this level of competition where it's all mixed together. I like the idea of him being with NFL coaches. So I'm really excited to see Mike Green. But other defensive lineman guys, two guys that I'm really, really excited to see are guys that I liked already. Ty Hamilton from Ohio State, though I like Tylee Williams more in the defensive tackles position from Ohio State, who's super disruptive. I think Ty Hamilton is really disruptive as well. It's really just a matter of him learning how to use his hands a little bit better, getting that first hand placement better and learning how to reset his hands better, because the motor is definitely there and the strength is there. And those little adjustments can go so far, and it could be as simple as just a couple of days with NFL coaches. You have no idea. So, I mean, that could bring him a long way. And the other one is Cameron Jackson from Florida, number 99. He's a huge dude. He's super, super violent with his hands in the trenches and making tackles. He's got a ton of energy, a lot of heart. Like, you see him after plays, he's always beating his chest. I just love guys like that. Yeah. And I'm really, really excited to see that. And, specifically towards the New York Giants, we're talking about edge guys. For me, I see the need at edge. Believe me, I understand. Kayvon Thibodeau is not the top 5 guy that we hope that he would be at this point. Brian Burns is who Brian Burns is. He is not an all-encompassing, all-pro edge player. He's just a very good Pro Bowl pass rusher, I would say, with some run-stopping skills. But there's nobody really in the reserves back there. But for me, it's about protecting Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence can't be on the field for 99% of snaps, and they can't be completely useless the 1% of time he's not on the field. So he needs not just one player to help him, he needs 2 players to help him. So I'm looking at defensive linemen really, really critically in the trenches.
Yeah, and the Giants need to find some identity, and let's take what is maybe a perceived strength in their front 4, and let's make that a legit strength, where you have guys that you can rotate through there. Like we don't we don't believe in drafting positions. We draft players, but I look at this defensive tackle group, and not even just guys who are here, and I'm like, how am I not going to be in love with the guy that's sitting there at the second pick of the second round? How am I not going to be in that spot? Like, even if you're a Mason Graham at 3 guy, if you don't like the quarterbacks or they can't draft the quarterbacks because they go 1-2. You could draft Mason Graham, and you could draft a defensive tackle in the second round too.
100%.
I would not be mad. I'd be happy. I'd be thrilled that the Giants finally kind of double dipped at a position, especially a position where they can turn that into a real deal strength overnight.
If you want Dexter Lawrence to continue being Dexter Lawrence for the entire length of the extension you gave him, that's what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not just have Dexter Lawrence being a great player on his own right, allow him to help other players be great by giving them less attention, right? Like, you guys know I'm a big Kalijah Cansey fan.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kalijah Cansey is getting a sack per game if he doesn't have Vita Vea next to him. He might be very good, but he's maybe not doing that.
Yeah, and speaking of Kalijah Cansey and a guy like Johnny Newton, two interior defensive linemen who we've liked over the years, but
they were
a
both
little
here.
bit more. Johnny Newton's not really on the lighter scale, but he moves like he is, right? He also wore a single-digit number, which makes him look lighter. But Walter Nolan, another guy that wears a single-digit number. I'm probably not breaking any news. If you're already into the draft, I'm not breaking any news. I mean, Mike Renner just put him out, his top 50 draft board dropped today. He put him inside his top 10. The consensus board has Walter Nolan ranked 27 right now. And man, he was kind of walking around. We did interviews this morning. He was kind of just walking around, and I'm like, oh, well, this guy may come sit down. I don't really know who this guy is, which again, shame on me. I don't really know who this guy is. I gotta see who he is, especially if he sits down. And then I started watching a little bit, started looking at some of the metrics, and it's like, holy shit, this guy is legit. And he's come out and said, like, I want to be the next Aaron Donald. Like, he has like that lateral movement, kind of like what we saw out of Johnny Newton and Kalijah Cansey, while being basically the same size and measurements as Justin Amatabuke from Baltimore, who's become one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL over the last 2 years.
6'3", 293.
Walter Nolan, and one of the questions, like, if we do, I asked, our contacts at the Senior Bowl, I'm like, I really hope we get a chance to talk to him, because one of the things I want to ask him is, bro, what are you doing here? I almost feel like he doesn't need the Senior Bowl. A guy like that doesn't need the Senior Bowl, but you gotta respect a guy that wants to come out here, that wants to compete, that wants to win. So, the expectation for a guy like Walter Nolan is to fucking dominate, and I'm expecting that even from day one. Absolutely.
And again, like, usually, like, if we were talking about the D-line group, like, okay, that's it on the guys. Like, Princely Umanamilan out of Ole Miss, the Florida transfer.
Another. Yes. Walter Nolan's from Ole Miss too.
I'll have a film breakdown out of him next week sometime. Speed rusher who can generate some strength. Can kind of be a little streaky at times. He weighed in at 6'4", 264. If he could start playing behind his pads a little bit with that speed and the spin move that he has, that could be a really good player in this class. We mentioned Nick Scowerton, the other Texas A&M edge. TJ Sanders from South Carolina, the defensive tackle group. Two guys on the opposite end of the defensive tackle group who I think can really both these guys can really raise their stock with me. One is Deion Walker out of Kentucky, the defensive tackle. We looked at him in the way too early draft preview. He's 6'7", 340, and he rushes with finesse. I want to see him rush with power. Use that strength. Show me that you can generate strength, power from your legs in here. On the opposite end, Omar Norman Law, 6'1", 295. He was a rotational guy at Tennessee. 6 guys on that front four played more than him last year, but he was second in their pass rush production. He has a really good rate. Like, only James Pierce was more productive than him on the defensive line. Come down here and win, right? There's some flashes of Braden Fisk in his game, who had a big week down here last year and got the Rams to trade a second rounder away to trade up and get him. And I think they're happy with that decision. So, we're missing guys. So the offensive line, the guys are going to be tested, right? I think the offensive line position here, where I'm looking for is, like, how does your position flex go? Marcus Bowe from Purdue, who we interviewed this morning, he says, hey, I'm a tackle.
First thing.
Which, I don't have his all 22, so I haven't got to watch him, but people have, tweeted at me about him as a player. I still want to see what he looks like at guard. At least. I love how Ed Reed used to just toss the ball back on his interception.
Travis Kelce before Travis Kelce. Yeah, but the Purdue lineman this morning, who I think we're going to put that interview at the end of this episode.
Depending on what we do with time.
But that interview may be coming out at some point. But first thing he says is, I'm a tackle. There are people that want to put me inside, and I want to show this week that I want to be a tackle. And I'm like, fuck yeah, love it, man. Like, go out there and prove it. I love that. You know?
Grump, the first name that you talked to me about when I was like, all right, give me a guy to watch for the Senior Bowl that you think I might like, it was Josh Connolly from Oregon. And with all the edges we talked about, he's going to be tested because he's got quick feet. You got some fast guys who are strong as shit in this. I think this is a big week for him, right?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it's going to be a big week for all the offensive linemen. They're either going to
sink or swim.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is trial by fire for them.
Yeah.
And I like both tackles from Oregon. What's interesting is that they're both career left and career right. So you're talking about Josh Connolly Jr. at the left side. I also really like a Johnny Cornelius. I think they both have, who is the right side tackle for Oregon as well. I think they both have really, really good feet, and their ability to mirror edge rushers is really that ability. If you can do that with good, consistent speed all the time and mirror really well, it makes up for so many things with like arm length, etc. I would say probably even size if you can get your leverage correct as well. And I think both of those guys do that really well. Connerly, obviously, on the left side, I guess, is going to be probably drawing in game situations more of a pass rush, I guess. But down here on the 1v1s, it's not going to matter. I mean, 1v1s are 1v1s, whether it's left or right side.
Right.
So I'm really excited to watch both of those guys. I think that they're both really interesting. And one other offensive lineman I think is super interesting to watch is I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name. His name is
from Arizona.
No. The center from I can. The center from USC, Jonah Monheim. He was a center last year. The year before that, he was left tackle. Year before that, he was a right tackle.
Yeah.
So he's played kind of all over. He has experiences at guard as well.
Yeah.
And he's another one. I understand why they moved him inside. The arm length is definitely an issue. I think it's like 31-inch arms or something. Or 30.
Caleb Williams is left tackle, is now playing center.
Yeah, pretty much. But when you look at him at tackle, you look at the foot speed and the ability to mirror is so good. Like, I watched 2 games of him at left tackle. Admittedly, not a lot, but I'm going through a lot of stuff, and it's still very early in the process. He didn't get embarrassed at all at left tackle because of his foot speed. Yeah. So these are all and that level of versatility has to be valued. Yeah. I mean, that's a guy like Nick Gates that could play all 5 positions on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Even if he's not a starter, that's super duper valuable. And he's clearly very intelligent to be able to play all those positions. With center being the last one, you have to know a lot. Yep. So I'm really interested to see A, where Jonah Monheim looks the best, and B, how he fares at tackle.
You want to maybe I have a transitioning thought if we want to transition out of the trenches.
Why don't you talk to us about something, and then
I will.
You could talk about that.
All right, I will. This episode is brought to you by SeatGeek. Guess what? It's a new year, and to celebrate another year of our amazing partnership with SeatGeek, we have a new code just for you guys. You can now use code GIANTS2025 for 10% off tickets on SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app in the world. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, you can get tickets to the NFL playoffs, baseball games, or I guess you can get tickets to the Super Bowl.
Ed Reed just intercepted like all the best quarterbacks all the time.
I know.
Like there's like 5 of Peyton Manning so far. Big Ben 7 times.
Love the highlight reel. Grump, you go to Devils games. How are they doing? Are they hot?
They are. Well, they're a little bit cold right now. Their goaltender just got hurt. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, but they are still near the top of the Metropolitan. I expect them to be in the playoffs.
And you use SeatGeek and use code GIANTS2025 to get 10% off any tickets at any time. That's code GIANTS2025 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. 10% off any tickets with promo code GIANTS2025. Go to a Devils game with Grump. Go to a Knicks game with me and Snacks at the end of March. I think that's what we're projecting. Enjoy your life with SeatGeek. You will be glad you did. Here's my transitioning thought as we...
I thought you were just going to read the ad.
No, here's my transitioning thought as we maybe move out of the trenches. I don't know if we want to do that yet, but, I mean, we're mentioning all these guys with size, right? This is a big Senior Bowl. Like, the shortest wide receiver, I think, is 5'10". Like, and they're slot guys. Like, slot guys, all right, you're 5'10", 5'11". But there's no, like... we
usually have like a 5'7" guy.
Yeah. There's no, who am I trying to, there's no Ted Dell.
Tez Johnson was 156 pounds.
But
literally half of me.
He was listed at 182. That's crazy. But so nevertheless.
He was a great interview, by the way.
He was a great interview.
We had the whiteboard for the quarter, which we haven't done yet. We were going to have them drop a play. And we're like, what's your favorite? Justin's like, what's your favorite play? He's like, can I draw it? And I was like, fuck yes, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I joked with them. I'm like, we saved the whiteboard. We didn't think the receivers would want it. We thought the quarterbacks would want it. Yeah. So Tej Johnson was a really good dude. Really fun interview.
What did he say about Dylan Gabriel?
Just said he was short.
Like what is
for 2 minutes straight? Just said Tej Johnson.
I forgot what the initial question was because we asked like, what's something that stands out about Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, because I'm like, you guys. I said
like people told me he was short. he's shorter than what I thought.
Like he went out for 2 minutes to
And then I was like,
he's short.
but what does stick out about him that makes him good, you know?
But so Tej Johnson was good. But this is a Senior Bowl. I'll just go through some of these receivers in particular. 6'2", 6'2", and this isn't official. I completed the spreadsheet before. There's a couple 6'2" guys, 6'3", 6'5", 6'4". I mean, this Senior Bowl has size, and there's 14 wide receivers that are here, at least as I was completing this spreadsheet.
You know the guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing in that receiver room?
The tight ends are huge, too. Yes, who?
So tight ends aren't, like, this isn't always a tight end week. The tight ends are better than the wide receivers, right? You have Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor's brother from LSU. Yeah, Gunnar Helm from Texas, Jackson Haas from Georgia Tech, your guy from Alabama, C.J. Dippre.
Yeah, Harold Fonin Jr. caught 117 balls this year out of Bowling Green. Wow.
But the receiver that I'm really looking forward to is Stanford's wide receiver, Alec. How do you say the name, Grump?
I have to look at it to remember.
Alik
Ayamanor.
That's what we're going to go with right now.
He's a big guy. He has outside, inside flex. He grabs the ball in tight space. He has subtle route. He's not a burner. I watch him, and, like, it reminds me, I'm not going to say it reminds me of Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it reminds me of the reasons why people liked Amon-Ra St. Brown coming out of USC. Now he's going to play mostly on the outside in the NFL.
Yep.
But, like, he didn't have good quarterback play at Stanford, and he was just like, man, I'm just impressed with his route running. Like, he gets open. If he doesn't get open, he makes a tough catch. You can back shoulder him. He has good body control. I'm like, this is just a guy who may never be wide receiver one in the NFL that goes to Pro Bowls and no pros, but I'm like, this is a guy who, I could see the Rams just falling completely in love with.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, so consensus board ranking right now, Alik is 50th, believe it or not, but a yards per route run of 1.9, which I would say 2 is the threshold, but like you said, I mean, Stanford, like we've known for years, has just had really bad offensive play, really bad quarterback play, so it's tough to evaluate some of those receivers and those skill position players coming out of there.
So, yeah, that's the receiver. Xavier Restrepo out of Miami.
Miami, yeah.
He'll be the one-on-one darling down here out of the slot. What I want to see from him is, he's going to be able to separate on one-on-ones. Can you pull away once you have that, bit?
I think Jalen Royals out of Utah State he is like ranked in the hundreds in the consensus board. Just based off his metrics, he looks really interesting as well. Pat Bryan, Jake Beck, Jaden Higgins,
big guys.
Jalen Noel, some of the other guys that maybe could stand out this week.
Let's talk about quarterbacks.
So
Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart are here. I think they're like in this battle to be QB3.
Riley Leonard is here. Will Howard is not.
Yeah, Riley Leonard is here. I didn't realize until today Riley Leonard is a Mobile, Alabama native.
Oh, is he?
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
What was the last New York Giants draft pick who was from Mobile, Alabama?
O'Shane Zimenez?
No. He played good for the Gators.
Kadarius Toney.
Remember we saw him on the Mobile, Alabama local news a couple years ago?
No, I was going to guess that, though, so I must have known it.
You must have known. I think I mentioned it before the show when we talked about that time he was warming up. He was practicing during OTAs in this backyard in the trees.
Oh.
Nice strip sack, Ed Reed, and touchdown on Mark Brunell. I don't know if this week is going to change my opinion on what these guys end up being, like telling the story from the film. And I don't know if quarterback play here has changed my opinion. Like, I tried to go through. I'm like, what are the best 3 quarterbacks like I've seen just playing down here? Not just their rankings of what I ended up, but like best. I thought Mac Jones probably had the best out of the ones. You guys weren't here for that year.
Nope.
Michael Penix was probably number 2, and then you mentioned Spencer Rattler. I mentioned Malik Willis. Like I see kind of both of those guys in the 3. The way Willis drove the ball in the rain was nice. But Rattler had a good week down here.
He was
too.
consistent. He was the most consistent guy that year.
For Jalen Milroe, what I want to see is no running outside of the pocket, like because you're not going to get hit. Get the ball out on time. Like make some quick, easy reads. It's going to be basic coverages you're practicing against in defense. Show me that you can just run those well. Show me that, and again, it won't change. It won't make all the difference in the world, but it can stop you from having your stock drop. His hands were 8.5 inches, by the way, which is like Kenny Pickett size.
That
which
is
is
Kenny Pickett size.
A little worrisome. So I don't know if what Jalen Milroe here does here is going to, man, I actually want this guy. Maybe he does, but I want to see a guy who threw 16 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Like, show me consistency, just throwing the ball. Yeah. Throwing the ball from the pocket, not sitting back there forever, not running around. I know he can make some wild plays. I just want to see consistency. And then with Jackson Dart, I just want to see what he looks like in a non-Ole Miss offense, which is very much you're throwing the ball here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that this is the place for both of those guys, right? Jalen Milroe has a lot to show everybody. Jackson Dart, I mean, traits-wise, I like a lot of what Jackson Dart already has, but that Ole Miss offense or the Lane Kiffin offense is always going to be a stigma for those that come out of it.
And it should be, honestly.
No, and it should be. That's perfectly fine, but this is your opportunity. I don't expect him to show me tomorrow, Tuesday, that he's amazing. What I expect to see is that Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, we see the improvement, and then maybe it translates to the Friday game or something like that. That's what I expect to see out of Jackson Dart. I think that the traits are all there. I think he can make the throws. I think that he has that sort of it factor behind the line of scrimmage. People call it moxie, whatever you want to call it. He plays with that certain level of it that you can say is a little Baker Mayfield-y. It comes down to that. Like,
I want to see his arm pop a little bit too. I want to see his arm pop a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to take a chance on you in the second or third round or whatever,
the deep throw is not the greatest.
That's the thing. I want to see it look really, really good down here.
Yeah.
Who do you want me to pick for highlights next?
Devin Hester or Calvin Johnson. Go down.
I like both of those.
Oh, down.
Yeah.
See, the NFL throwback ones are like unnecessary. You know what? That's 10 minutes. Devin Hester's are great, but we've seen Devin Hester's highlights so often. I'll put Calvin's on.
There you go, B-roll. This is going to be a little bit of a cop-out answer.
That's okay.
Don't get me wrong, like the on-field stuff matter, but it's inevitably like I'm not looking forward to it's just practice, you can't get shit out of it. Like whether somebody makes a good throw or a bad throw, like the discourse of quarterbacks coming from whether it's the combine or the Senior Bowl is something that's annoying. But what is tangible though is, and I'm saying this selfishly, like we're in a position to talk to these guys. What I did get out of like last year with Michael Penix is we sat down and we talked with him. And I'm like, you're gonna blow a team away because like he wooed me in the 10 minutes that I talked to him.
It's an impressive interview.
Very impressive interview. But I'm like, oh, you kind of swept me off my feet for the last 10 minutes here, just with how he carried himself and everything like that. So, obviously, I'm not sitting here being an NFL evaluator, but you can get a sense of, even if we're talking with somebody for 10 to 12 minutes about what kind of dude are you? What kind of worker are you? Are you really putting in the work and shit like that? I think you can, you have somebody that can act, of course, but
but even then, you can tell when somebody's acting as well too.
A little bit.
You can tell.
With
So
the quarterback
honestly,
spot, you can't tell. Like with the quarterback spot, you can't act because it's going to be seen through.
Right. So
you
that's
guys
why
have the whiteboard.
Yeah. We have the whiteboard this year too. So I'm excited for that. So that's why, like last year. You see what Michael Penix does on the field. Oh, the ball looks good. The arm strength looks good. He's driving the ball, et cetera, et cetera. But I walked away being like, well, in terms of the draft, because that's why we're doing this, like, where are you going to go in the draft? You're going to carry yourself the same way, probably even better when you're talking to an NFL team. An NFL team is going to fall in love with that shit. So really, like, if we get a chance to talk to these quarterbacks like a Jalen Milroe, even like a Dylan Gabriel or Jackson Dart, if I can maybe get the impression that if you're going to blow an NFL team away like that in your interview process and how you talk and how you work, then a team is more likely to take a chance on you if you show you can do those other things well.
Can we tell the listeners we stole the Giants' idea, and when if we interview the quarterbacks, we're going to be like, hey, you have one play that you have to run for the rest of your life: first down, second down, third down. Mm-hmm. What is that play? And give them the whiteboard.
Yeah.
My worry is that that's going to wow us no matter what, because any quarterback can do that.
Yeah.
And we can't grill them the same way Brian Dable will grill them. Where it's like, but what if you put the Y here? And if we start doing that, even if we could, they'd be like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah.
Number one. And
I can't
number
draw
two
shit
is if you asked me to do that with a whiteboard, I could sit there and joke, not joke around, but like tell you if I get this coverage, and then I'd wow you, and you guys think I'm a great quarterback. and unfortunately, I'm not. I don't have the mobility.
Yeah, that's what's holding you back.
But we talk about here's somebody who this week is going to be my decider for him. And we actually have a connection to this guy. I'm friends with his offensive line coach.
Apparently the Giants have talked with him too.
The Giants have met with this guy for 30 minutes at a Gridiron Showcase. Canadian quarterback Taylor Elgersma. 6'4", 216 pounds. You watch his highlights, and he has a nice arm. He's big. He can move. He's not like this great athlete, but he can move. And he is just a blank slate because he plays 12-on-12 football. Mm-hmm. The receivers are literally running forward at the route. So if he can just do some like basic offense stuff and look decent and make a couple throws over the middle, I'm going to be like, even if they take a quarterback at 3, I'm going to be like 6th round. Give me fucking because those are the type of things that I do believe in. Like, you know me, after the first round, I don't believe in taking quarterbacks because if they're a second round, third round value, if they're a second round type player, they're going to go in the first round. The only successful second round pick out of the last like 6-7 years is Jalen Hurts. Day 3, it's Brock Purdy, and then even like the second best would be like someone like Sam Howell or whoever. It's just not there. But what I do believe in the guys who are just raw and really talented, and that's somebody like I'm legitimately really excited to see him play down here. And I think he's excited to be down here because he went from playing quarterback in Canada, a Gridiron Showcase, to being, the first Canadian player to come to this. And I was listening to an interview with Jim Nagy, the Senior Bowl director, and he's like, Tyson Bagent, the Bears back quarterback, he was the first Division II quarterback they had here in like 20 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he got some starter moments with the Bears.
Yeah.
Not that he deserved it, but he wasn't a complete
went 2-2 as a starter.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I actually watch Canadian football, so like for me the biggest difference, I know I have to one up you. I'm an asshole. The biggest difference is because of the running start with wide receivers is how wide open they tend to be in the CFL and that style of play. And what you don't see at the CFL level is the tight window timing throws. So, I'm not expecting to be blown away. But again, I'm wanting to see that improvement from Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, Thursday to Friday. So if you can get those, I'm 100% behind you because, like, I think there are other
Giants to have 2 7th-round picks this year.
There's other day 2 and 3 quarterbacks that were not, like Kirk Cousins is a 3rd-round pick that was doubled up with Robert Griffin. So, like, I do think that there is value there, and it would be folly to not mention that the Giants have absolutely 0 quarterbacks under contract.
And that's why this may be a little of an intriguing place for him. And his O-line coach is a big Giants fan. And when we interview him, I'm gonna like try and woo him to the Giants if he's an undrafted free agent. Like this is like you got a good shot to play here. I'm gonna be a big decider in where he ends up.
I'll tell him about the Candlewick Diner.
Yeah, we're gonna like, dude, we'll drive you around. We have a van. You might want to check it out. So those are the obviously there's other quarterbacks here, but I think those are the guys that we're really watching.
Bobby, why don't you talk to us about something?
Let's go into the mind of a Huel. All right, we're here live from Mobile, Alabama, and I want to talk to you about Huel. It's a new year, and we're all about setting goals and actually hitting them. That's why I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Huel, spelled Huel, the global complete nutrition brand trusted by millions. Huel is perfectly balanced meal designed by experts to provide you all the nutrients your body needs from a meal. Huel takes the guesswork out of healthy eating. They're convenient and taste so good. Huel shakes actually taste like a milkshake, which, hey, we all like milkshakes, right? One of my favorites is their Black Edition ready to drink because it's got 35 grams of protein plus 27 vitamins and minerals. You can find Huel in GNC stores on Amazon or directly at Huel.com. For new customers shopping at Huel.com, you can try it for 15% off plus get a free gift using your exclusive code GIANTS. That's 15% plus a free gift for new customers with the code GIANTS at Huel.com. Start your year off strong. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. You'll be glad you did. Huel. All right, we're back.
Thanks, Huel.
Thank you, Huel. Huel.
My mind has been Hueled.
Huel. So do we want to I'm kind of good on like preview stuff. People don't go crazy for the preview stuff, anyways. Do you guys have anything else? Maybe we could throw that interview on here and
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's say this. There's always somebody that we're not expecting that catches us day one and stays. There's a group of people that catch us day one, and there's one or two that we catch day one and that stay with us through the whole thing. So I'm sure someone that we haven't even thought of is going to blow us away. Maybe it's that kicker we saw.
Forget thought of. There's someone whose name I've never heard before that's gonna really excite. That happens every single year down here. Like we're gonna have a crush at some point down here. So, actually, you know what? People aren't going to be interested in that interview.
Oh, wow. So that's rude.
They're just not. They're not. People, it's a known fact that they're not. So we're at what? About 40 minutes? 40 minutes? Why don't we talk about the Airbnb?
We don't have any thoughts, Shedeur Sanders thoughts from the Shrine Bowl?
Oh my God, the way the Giants and Shedeur. Also, we had Kayvon and Des Bryant fighting. That was the worst Twitter fight I've ever seen on both sides.
I'm really glad I didn't go down the rabbit hole.
I didn't really, but it just shows up on your timeline, and I'm like,
coughing baby.
Neither one of these, not a single one was funny. And then it becomes into a think piece where it's like, Kayvon's not good enough to be talking this shit, and then it's like he needs to defend the team. He's doing right. It's like, all right, this is.
Remember that time
they both probably had a few drinks and are just popping off on Twitter. Like we don't need think pieces out of it. But yeah, nothing else happened over the weekend. Saquon Barkley didn't have another great game.
Yeah,
didn't
let's
go
ignore
to the
that.
Super Bowl. I'm really happy for Nick Gates.
I'm going back to the city where Super Bowl's being played for the first time since the Eagles were last in the Super Bowl. So anytime I will be attending a Super Bowl-ish, the Eagles and the Chiefs will be playing in it. I guess that's just my destiny from now on.
I'm going to read this tweet because you mentioned the Shedeur Sanders thing.
Yeah.
And
is it the worst kept secret in football right now that the Giants love him?
Here's something though, and this is
I had heard that there was a split between which members of the front office liked him over Cam Ward and vice versa.
Where'd you hear that from?
I don't remember.
I don't know what the deal is with all this. It's always too early for speculation, but here I'm gonna do it.
And I'm gonna give you a theory.
Okay.
And now this person, you're gonna hear what this guy's source is. So take it with a grain of salt. But this guy has given me like amazing information that like ended up being true. And he said, "I'm just letting you know," and he's at the Shrine Bowl. "I'm just letting you know. I almost guarantee you they aren't taking Shedeur at 3. They have buddied up with him, but I think it's because they are doing the smokescreen game." And I said, "What makes you say that?" And he said, "Vibe." So
okay, can I give my theory?
Wait. He is down there.
Yeah,
he is down there, and he's saying the vibe for him is a little bit different. And this is somebody when everyone was saying Brian Dable's dead was telling me he's like, "Listen, he's not. He has taken the beating for this right now. He's not leaving."
I'm gonna give my theory. Brian Dable and Joe Shane had to pitch some sort of vision at quarterback to John Mara, right? I mean, they just had to.
Look at this.
To save their jobs, they just had to. Fantastic.
Picture of me with a gun.
Patreon.com/Talk of Giants. So you get to see Bobby do dumb shit. My theory is that like Joe Shane and Brian Dable didn't just keep their jobs because John Mara just loves having them around. You know, like they had to give a vision for some sort of future with them as leaders and guiding the team, right? And that vision is quarterback. Like they had to, like, what are you going to do at quarterback? They talked about it enough in their postseason pressers where they have to have some sort of plan and vision for it. My theory is when Saquon Barkley left the Giants and the whole Hard Knocks thing was happening, and I talked about this on the Jam football stream yesterday, but not everybody watched that. John Mara, Saquon Barkley is leaving. What does he talk about as like the first thing as to why we can't lose Saquon Barkley? It's not that Saquon Barkley is the best one of the best running backs in the NFL. It's not, well, what's going to happen to our offense? What's going to happen to this and play calling and schematics? It's, well, Saquon Barkley is the most popular player on the team. We can't lose the most popular player on the team. So my theory is that Joe Shane and Brian Dable are using Shedeur Sanders' marketability to their advantage of this is the guy that can get interest back in the franchise. You see him playing catch in the streets with New York City with Malik Neighbors. So my theory as of right now, and it's very early in the process, and this is
process.
Hearing stuff maybe in the regular season too, but my theory is that that's what Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll have sold John Mara on. Shedeur Sanders, marketability, being in New York, Deion Sanders' son, and that's the kind of thing that maybe quote unquote saved their jobs.
Well, part of their pitch of why they believe in him as a quarterback, and then some,
then that.
Oh,
yes.
And by the way, he has that.
Right.
We all know that their pitch to save their jobs was, we didn't get to take a quarterback. You didn't want me to ask the quarterback. That's what their pitch to John Mara was.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'll say, because I don't really know what I believe on the Giants' stance on Shedeur Sanders.
None of us do.
I will say that Joe Schoen has been, or whatever, this regime has been pretty good at blowing smoke. So if, I could see that. I absolutely buy what Justin is saying about the marketability. And, I even thought at the time, the Twitter clip of Shedeur Sanders throwing passes to Malik Neighbors in the streets of New York was the most staged ass looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And that doesn't happen by accident. You know what I mean? So I could absolutely see both things being 100% true, that they're all in on him and that this is the move and this is what they sold Mara on. And I could also see it as this is tremendously well-placed smoke and they're doing a good job.
At the same, it is fucking January still. I know we're literally doing it right now. Do not pay attention to anything about what they think about this guy until the combine's
There's
over.
so much
and
that can
even
happen.
then, you have to be guarded with it. We usually don't even bring it on the show, but we're having some fun at the end of the show, the Senior Bowl. By the way, this remote fucking sucks. The power button is here on any Roku TV. That's where the back button is. But I'm glad the next on the playlist was Justin Tucker highlights. Great kicker. I don't want to watch a fucking kicker have highlights.
So this Airbnb, huh? Wow. So this isn't the one that you...
I did it again. I just turned the TV off again.
You're a monster. This is not the house that we were supposed to get.
No,
they kicked us out of the house they put in, and you think at least they're going to do it up for the other house. No, there's a pit in the middle of it.
Pit of misery when you walk in the front door.
Yep.
None of the doors close correctly.
None of the doors closed.
It's
Bathrooms,
dirty.
etc.
So this table is from my bedroom, and I brought it out to have the laptop on it. And when I picked it up, there's literally 5, not just a bunch of chip crumbs, 5 different types of chip crumbs under there.
There's stains on this
of
arm of the couch.
We went and bought. I brought a towel, and then I was like, we went to Walmart.
Buy
you guys
towels.
bought towels because they have stains on them. This is.
I mean,
listen,
the
I'm not
floor,
complaining.
There's water damage all over the place. The biggest thing is that we needed 4 bedrooms because there's 4 of us.
Oh, that's the other thing. I could deal with all that. They flat out it says a 4-bedroom. It's a 3-bedroom, but they have just 2 random beds out in the open area.
In the common space.
So you'll see, because we're going to record the Talking Giants podcast there on Thursday for the Friday show. You'll see, they're calling that a bedroom.
It's literally the top of the stairs. It's not a separate room.
And I busted my ass on.
Yeah, and not only that, the beds are
beds.
terrible. Justin went upstairs, and then 3 seconds later, I shit you not, 3 seconds later, we heard a crash. And I was like, Justin, are you okay? No answer. So I go up the stairs, and I see him trying to sit on the mattress, but the mattress had collapsed.
I sunk
right through to the floor.
Yeah.
Because the beds are... So I slept on that couch. That was my bed. This is my bedroom
crazy,
we're
right?
in right now, which is nuts. That's kind of the biggest horse shit of the whole thing.
We're watching the worst crash of speed weeks.
It's pretty bad.
That's Jeff Bodine. I read his
Oh,
book.
my God.
Yeah, it's crazy that he lived through this shit.
Oh, that was crazy.
This was the first truck race at Daytona. Clash is back next week.
Were you there?
No, I was 8. No complaining, though, because we are in Mobile. If there's any place where I'll take being in a shitty Airbnb, it's fucking Mobile, Alabama.
That's right.
So.
If this were New Jersey, you would riot.
Oh, yes. If it was New Jersey, I'd go back home.
I don't know of a house like this in New Jersey.
So at least it's in Mobile, Alabama. We have a Senior Bowl billboard on the street that we're on, and then
There's
for
also
you,
a cigar
there's
bar.
a cigar shop on the street that
I know.
we're on. So
Maybe even a lounge. I may explore that.
I understand why they didn't put the worst one of 01, but they could have just skipped it and not been like, this was the worst crash of the 01 Speed Week.
Sure.
Why?
Because Dale Earnhardt
died in this race.
Oh, yeah.
So that wasn't
Now, granted,
that was the ugly that one was uglier look.
Yeah, look wise, yes.
So yeah, excited for this week. Again, a ton of content coming out of this week on 3 different channels. Obviously, our socials will be all plugged in. Make sure to go follow at _Grump.
Correct.
And the Just Giants podcast.
Yeah, then subscribe to the Just Giants podcast. We'll link it up and all that good stuff. So yeah, excited to be down here. I know it's not our biggest numbered week, but I do think it's like the people who like talking Giants. Yeah. It's their favorite week of the year.
Well, I think it's growing too. Like I think this is a week where last year we gained a good amount of subscribers because we were able to get our recap out pretty early and first, and so that's how we grow a little bit on the football channel, which is always what we need. So
that was not even his worst record, Daytona, right, Newman? All right, that's an episode. We will be back Friday on Talking Giants, but like I said, we'll be live streaming on the Talking Giants, breakdowns on the Jam Football channel. So a lot of good stuff coming out of Mobile, Alabama this week. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.